The Oklahoma Sooners looks like they're finally starting to get a little bit of respect.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire. And on today's show, how are the Tennessee Volunteers helping the Oklahoma Sooners? We'll discuss that in the third segment. In segment 2, can the 2023 class have a similar impact in 2026 that the 2022 recruiting class had in Oklahoma's playoff run in 2025? We'll discuss that coming up in a little bit, but start here. Josh Pate released the commissioner's poll. These are his power rankings, not power ratings. And the Oklahoma Sooners are getting a little bit of respect in this, Jay.
I'm actually surprised that we're getting as much respect as we are. Actually, I'm not. I'm gonna stop lying to y'all. This is what I expected from Pate, because he did it last year. Last year, he said Oklahoma was a top 10 team. He said this is a playoff team based upon what I've heard in the conversations I had with Brent Venables. He did in his coaches series. He came to Norman and actually interviewed BV finally for the first time. And he said when he sat there and talked to him and he played the video, and he was like, yeah, whenever me talking to him, it made me feel like this team is built to be able to make it to the playoffs. That they feel like they've got all the pieces needed. And then you add John Mateer, in which Pate put money on to win the Heisman. Told me everything I need to know and to believe that he's actually going to do it. And so with that being said, this is not a shocker for me. It feels like he knows that with Oklahoma's schedule, which is considered more favorable than it was last year, the gauntlet potentially is gone. So that means to me it's going to be more of a challenging one, but it's a lot of new faces. I mean, the only thing that's not really new is Ole Miss, and that's going to be interesting to see if they can keep their magic going. But overall, I think it's fair. It's very it cracks me up still that, Indiana just won the Natty and they're number 3. I'm gonna be honest. Any poll that doesn't have the national champ as the number 1 team bothers me. That team deserves that respect. But we're right behind Texas, Georgia, and Texas A&M, which surprisingly, I'm kind of surprised about that, to be honest.
It feels like a reasonable place to put Oklahoma. Texas A&M, they did go 11-1 during the regular season, but you can look at a lot of their schedule, and outside of the Notre Dame game, didn't really play anybody until they lost to Texas on the final week of the regular season. So it's one of those teams that I'm still not so sure about. I think they have the potential to be really good. Are they going to be what they were last year record-wise? They could still be as good as they were last year and maybe not have the same record, because the schedules are getting flipped around and it's not going to be what it was for them. Oklahoma is going to get the benefit of, hey, now we don't have all of these top 25 teams showing up on the schedule in the preseason. No more Mizzou, no more LSU, no more, who else? Auburn.
No LSU, no Alabama, no Tennessee.
Auburn was a preseason hype team. A lot of people were buying into that. They were.
No Auburn.
Yeah, Tennessee, those teams are off the schedule. And then you're replacing it with Mississippi State and Kentucky, and South Carolina comes back to it. So there's potential for Oklahoma here. And I think starting off as a top 10 team isn't going to be a surprise when the preseason polls come out in August, because this team has proof of concept. Now they've won in the SEC. They went 6-2 last year. They made a college football playoff appearance. It's going to be a better offense. You're going to have a defense that's going to be really good. Even if they do take a slight step back because they lost a ton of dudes off that defense, it's still got a lot of really good players that are going to be good enough to go win you some football games. And you're going to have an offense that can actually pull their own weight a little bit. So I think where they're starting the season is going to be feeling pretty reasonable. you might still have some questions based on their performance in the college football playoff. And I think that's reasonable, but that's not going to necessarily impact where they start the season. It might impact how people feel about this team in the playoff if they make it again in 2026, but it's not going to really determine, hey, are they a top 10, top 12, top 15 team?
Yeah, no, not at all. And then like you mentioned, the schedule, yeah, we don't the toughness meter on it really does go down when I'm starting to relook at it and really think about it. As we talked about it, the other day, can the team go back to 10-2? There is a path when you look at all of this, right? I mean, the Michigan game is going to be, of course, a good challenge, and you add Georgia instead of having, I guess you could say, Bama will be your replacement there, swapping Kentucky, well, probably Florida with, I don't know, I'd say Texas A&M with Tennessee, and then, or LSU, and then Florida with one of those two. But that last stretch right there is probably going to be the toughest one with Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and then Missouri as our quote unquote rivalry game. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what Kentucky looks like with the whole new staff. I expect them to have some challenges. Mississippi State should be better. But I think it's going to take Arnett another year to get that defense going. But yeah, 10-2 is still in the path. I mean, heck, 11-1 is still a possibility depending on just how, with as much as A&M lost. And you talked about this yesterday. A&M lost a pretty good chunk of players, but they still brought back Marcel Reed. And they lost coordinators. So there's a lot of change there that they still got to adjust to. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes you luck out and it's instantaneously. But yeah, that to me is where things get really interesting when it comes to how the schedule's going to lay out. But top 10, I think that's fair for what Oklahoma put together last year with the gauntlet of a schedule they had. You probably should reward them the next season. Still don't understand why Indiana ain't number one.
Yeah. So sorry, I mentioned Mizzou being off the schedule. They're on the schedule permanently until the SEC decides to change those rules. My apologies. But this is not going to be the same team, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to be as good as what they were this last year. Yes, Austin Simmons has a chance to be really good. He's also pretty turnover prone, which is the reason he got benched for Trinidad Chambliss. You look at the differences, though. What was it last year going into the season? We had like 8 teams that were ranked in the top 25 on Oklahoma's schedule. You go into it this year and you look at the schedule. We'll pull that back up real quick. And I think there's going to be 4 teams: Michigan, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Aggies. So 5 teams on the schedule that will be top 25 teams going into the 2026 season. So again, the preseason rankings aren't the be all end all, because you're going to see a team like South Carolina potentially jump into those rankings. You could see a team like a Missouri jump into the rankings. You could see a Florida team bounce back and be a top 25 team at the time that we play them. So it's not the be all end all, but it certainly is going to impact strength of schedule, and it's going to impact the way we view the schedule as well going into the season. So I feel like just based on that, it gives Oklahoma an opportunity. But just like I said yesterday, if you take that stretch after Texas lightly, if you take that group of Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Florida, those 4 games, you take those lightly, and you could be put in some dogfights and you could get upset, just like Texas was on the road in Gainesville against Florida. Let's not forget that Texas team was playing some really good football in November as well. And they were in discussions, or at least people were trying to put them in conversations to make the college football playoff as a 9-3 football team, but they lost to Florida, and that's what kept them out. You can't afford any slips like that. You got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and you got to beat teams that you're not supposed to beat in order to make the playoff. And that's what it's going to take for Oklahoma. To
me, that Georgia game is going to be the bigger one.
It's the big one, man.
If you can pull that off and start the season 4-0, there's no excuse to not go a minimum 11-1. The slip-up games are there, though. I mean, I think Mississippi State traveling to Starks Vegas is going to be a potential slip-up game. I do believe – let me see what South Carolina comes here. So, you bring them back. I think that we should be fine in that game.
That's a get-back
game. Yeah, that's a get-back game at the crib. We're going to get our revenge on that one. The Florida one on the road, of course, is a potential slip-up game. But the good thing with them, Kentucky, New coaching staffs, A&M again, new coordinators. You still got your head coach, but still got new coordinators, and so there's going to be some adjustments there. That helps you a lot in comparison to how things perform. And then Ole Miss, quote unquote, new coaching staff. Yeah, you're going to see some differences from those teams you're playing against, and the continuity for Oklahoma is the saving grace. Bringing in new coordinators, man, that's where the challenges come in. The good thing for Oklahoma was, and why they were so successful is Ben Arbuckle only needed to do literally the bare minimum. He just needed to make it a competent offense to be successful, and here we are.
Just find a player to a game and a driver to a game. Like, that's really all I needed with that defense. Now, we're going to need a little bit more. I believe that Oklahoma's offense is going to have to step up and be 25% better, 30% better than what it was last year in order for Oklahoma to be a better team. But yeah, that Georgia game, man, if you want to be a big dog in the yard, you got to go compete with the big dogs down there in their yard.
Agreed.
So, hey, the 2022 recruiting class that featured Grayson Halton, R. Mason Thomas, Robert Spears Jennings, that group was incredibly impactful for the Oklahoma Sooners in 2025. It's 2023's turn to step up. Can they do it? We'll discuss coming up here on Locked On Sooners.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated Tennessee 96-66, turning a halftime tie into a historic win and avenging last season's loss by delivering the largest margin in the rivalry's history. AZ Fudd had 27 points and Sarah Strong added 26 as the Huskies remain perfect on the season, reminding everyone why they are the reigning national champions. In the Big Ten, number 2 UCLA rolled past number 8 Iowa 88-65, powered by 22 points from Angela Dukelich and a huge advantage in the paint, staking their claim as a national threat. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you want more Locked On Sooners with less ads, go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayerclub, or you can go to lockedonsooners.supercast.com to get ad-free audio versions of Locked On Sooners across every major podcast platforms, wherever you download and listen to podcasts. LockedOnSooners.supercast.com for $5 a month or $50 per year. You can also get an invite to a members-only chat that features Jay and I and members of the Locked On Sooners Everydayer community and more. We're going to actually start dropping some premium content just for you in the Discord here in the next few weeks, where I'm going to look at some of the transfer portal guys, look at some of their tape, look at some of their film, do a little breakdown on them. And that'll be just for you in the Everydayer community. Again, lockedonsooners.supercast.com, Everydayer Club stuff over there. $5 a month, $50 per year. So Jay, the 2022 class really was foundational for Oklahoma's success last year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That continuity, that development that we saw. Can 2023 replicate that?
Yeah, they have the opportunity now. It's in their lap, the good thing. So when you look at some of the top players that are in that class that are actually still here, because that one...
There's not much left.
Not much left. There's very little meat left on the bone. Actually, when I was looking at the 2022 class, I was trying to figure out who actually could be even left from that one. But when I scroll through, whoo, buddy, the last man standing is Kip Lewis. He's the only one that's actually left from that class in 2022 that's still on the roster. Grayson Halton played all 4 years, so he was out. Kobe McKenzie transferred. Spears Jennings played 4 straight years, so he's in the league. Jaron Canick, same thing. All the way to Javante Barnes, who hit the portal, and Gentry and Jake Taylor, who both also portaled out, and Jacob Sexton. So that class emptied out. So you got one player left. 23, though. Like I mentioned, that was pretty empty as well. This roster is veteran enough with the 24 kids, but you still got PJ Adeboware and Peyton Bowen, who I think those two are going to be your massive anchors on the defensive side of the ball. They're probably the ones that's going to hold it down the most. Jacoby Johnson still has a chance to be super impactful. He had a really good year last year to me. I liked how he came in the reserve roles, and he actually did a good job of being aware of where the ball is and causing problems. Heck, that interception against Missouri, to me, it's probably the highlight of the season for him, right? He shadowed the route, took that ball himself. And so those three are the last men standing from that class. And I'm hoping, outside of Ahitho Zaida as well as Taylor Wein, that to me will be super impactful. The question though is, can Taylor Heim also step up and be somebody too?
Yeah, so it starts with Taylor Wein, Peyton Bowen, PJ Adeboware. This is that class that's like, man, what could have been? Because you look at it, it also had Hollywood Smothers in it. A lot of guys like Josh Bates, who's was a Remington Award finalist at the end of the year for SMU. Just a lot of guys that ended up transferring out, unfortunately. But it's still at Caden Green. Caden Green was a part of that class, and it's the last one that was that final season of Jeff Lebby before he moved on. And there was some really good players in that ended up going elsewhere. A lot of players that just didn't hit at Oklahoma for whatever reason. But I think you're still going to get quite a few starters in that. Ahitho Zaida could start for you at right guard. He's going to be in a bit of a position battle with Ryan Foje out there. We believe Marion Harris is going to be your right tackle, so that puts right guard as that big-time position battle. And then you're looking at, Peyton Bowen, PJ Adeboware, Taylor Wein. That's really it. It's not going to have the amount of numbers, but I think you're still going to see significant impacts from that. And this is going to be one of those that we watch for this year and for next year, because what made Oklahoma so good in 2025 is they did have a big-time veteran group of guys that were experienced, were in the program for 4 years, and either had been breakout players, breakout stars, or were coming into their own last year. And now you just don't have the sheer numbers. Yeah. And that's going to be the difficulty here. And that's going to be the difficulty next year, is you're not going to have as many like seniors to really rely on that team. And that's why, man, you cannot miss on your recruiting classes. As much as teams want to live in the portal, having 75% of your recruiting class gone before their senior year, that's rough, dude. That is, even in this era of college football, that's a really, really tough scene. You've got to be able to have continuity, and you've got to be able to hit on those guys that you're prioritizing out of high school. We'll see if the hit improves now that you have a Jim Nagy on board, and he's got a full year with this 2026 class, and then he's going to have even more time with the 2027 guys. We'll see if that hit rate improves, but finding a way to not have as much transition or as much emptiness because of the guys that left in the 23 class.
Fair one.
That's going to be key, but these guys that you've got, man, they're stars. Peyton Bowen and Taylor Wein, they're legitimate stars. They're legitimate draft picks coming in maybe 2027 NFL draft. Those guys could be top 100 picks pretty easily.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm kind of curious to see who, out of the players that are available, I would take Taylor Wein and Peyton Bowen off the list of the potential big years. I think that's kind of
yeah, they're gonna have great years.
They're gonna have a big year, right? That's past that. I'm curious though, to you, who out of the leftover players, your Ahitho Zaidas, actually K McIntyre is still on there as well. K McIntyre, Taylor Heim, and I say with PJ probably because he's most likely, he should start, but there's a chance him and Okoye will rotate. Who do you think is going to have the biggest year?
I mean, we need PJ to have the biggest year.
Yeah, we really do.
I mean,
especially since we brought him back out of the portal.
Yep. I mean, you made an investment to bring him back. He was played well when he's been part of the rotation. The production isn't necessarily where you want it to be going into the year, but listen, you didn't have any production out of Taylor Wein coming into this year. So, but you need him to be the player you think he can be. And that's his number one goal this year, is to be a breakout star, because you lose our Mason Thomas. That's a huge hit to your pass rush.
Yes.
You've got guys with a lot of potential. Danny Okoye, PJ Adeboware. You've got Jake Krell coming in. CJ Nixon is an athletic freak, but you don't have anybody that you're sitting there saying, man, we have Taylor Wein. That dude's a dude. He's a really good pass rusher. He's a great defensive end. Who's going to be the other guy? Who's going to step up across from him? Last year, Taylor Wein did it. Can PJ replicate that? Because you've got to have him. If you want your defense to be as good as it was last year, he's got to be the guy. He's got to step up. And he's got to be a significant player for this defense. Has to be. There's no second choice here, in my opinion. You want these other guys to step up. They've got to perform. Jacoby Johnson has to be better than what he was last year. Taylor Heim has to find a role. Peyton Bowen has to elevate his game more, because he's a leader on this defense now, so he has to elevate. But the guy that has to elevate, has to break out, has to have that season, it's PJ.
I can't even argue against it. I do feel like PJ is the one that we desperately need to have the 5-star season. Stone gave you that already, right? You're seeing that from Fasusi. We need PJ to give us that now, and I sense that he will, but he's definitely the one on my list as well.
I mean, he's got all the traits, man. He's got the length, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism, he's got the physicality. He's got what you're looking for. Now it's just a matter of putting all that on the field every single down in, down out, and being a force for this team. All right. Hey, the Tennessee Volunteers helped Oklahoma out by kickstarting their 2025 run in November, thanks to Owen Heinecke on a sack, Joey Aguilar. But will they get a little bit of a Owen Heinecke, Joey Aguilar connection this offseason? We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. It's tax season, but that doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every single deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local. That's TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today.
It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, those are always fun. This is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off a season and make Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. So if you're a new customer, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sports book partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Joey Aguilar is in a similar position as Owen Heinecke, looking to get another year. And according to reports, he is suing the NCAA for that eligibility. This is going to be a court case to watch for one Owen Heinecke. Now, the stories are a little bit different. Aguilar played JUCO, so he's trying to follow that same Diego Pavia path to get JUCO years back, while Owen Heinecke played 15 minutes of lacrosse. I think you could probably make a similar comparison there and, maybe get that season back.
Yeah, we talked about it. The biggest thing with this entire case and the reason why Joey Aguilar is doing this is because Diego Pavia got that extra year from JUCO, and so he's trying to push to get that one more year for himself. Now, I think the thing that's that's going to hurt him a little bit as he's played, 5-some years or whatnot, going into his 6th season to try to get the eligibility, and say JUCO was holding him back. The lawsuit actually showed how much he made. He made over $1 million last season. So, I mean, that's kind of where they're going. It's like, hey, money, guys, free market capitalism. Y'all got to allow me to make money. What are we doing here? Let me make money within the parameters of the timelines of playing D1 ball. If I would play D1 ball instead of having been forced to go to JUCO, I would have made this money back then too. Like, we all know that ain't true, but at the same time, it's a really good argument. I don't know if it helps Owen, though. That's the thing that sucks about it, is because as much as we would like this to help Owen, I don't think it really does much for him. Like we mentioned when we talked about his denial, now he's in the appeal process right now. Health it was his problem. Being healthy defeated him. He had that 1 year of injury, but they leveraged that as a red shirt. Now the question is, can they change that to a medical red shirt? But then we have to find another season to be an actual red shirt. I don't think he has another season that you could say he played less than 4 games to make it an actual red shirt. That's where the challenge comes into play for him. But I think it's going to be an interesting conversation over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I know one season in which he played less than 4 games. His lacrosse season.
I mean, it's fair. The question is lacrosse even have red shirt?
The fact that they don't have a similar red shirt rule in that, like that. Once you play and you play in this many games, like, because Ohio State's lacrosse season wasn't fewer than 12 games in the regular season back in 21. I'm looking it up right now, but I pretty much guarantee you that it wasn't. They play a lot of games, or a similar amount of games to football. And so the fact that you're taking 15 minutes or 12 games or 3 games away from him, or using those games to account for a full season, is kind of weird to me. He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 regular season games for Ohio State in the 2021 lacrosse season. So that's the thing that's weird to me, is that 3 games, 15 minutes could burn a red shirt in lacrosse. And so maybe that's the thing. That's the angle. Find a way to use that red shirt year with Oklahoma as a medical red shirt season and try to get that back. Man, I don't know. I would love for him to be back. I don't feel super hopeful about it, because you just never know what the NCAA is going to do. I hope that they're able to add this to the pile of cases that they hope to take to Congress and say, we need help with all these lawsuits, but that it gets Oklahoma one more year of Owen Heinecke along the way, because the dude's he's a monster. He's so good, and he's so fun to watch play. He helps your defense, but more than that, he's just really fun to watch play. So I just want one more year out of him.
Yeah, you definitely want the veteran presence to go along with the Cole Sullivan that you just added, and then of course Kip Lewis being out there, and then that now really makes it easy for James Nesta to really get in there and rotate and get his feet wet instead of him being thrusted into it. Now, if he doesn't get that, he's definitely going to be thrusted in there immediately, and now we get to see if Nesta's ready to do what he got to do to make it happen. Which, I mean, the rumor has it he is, so we'll see. But yeah. I'm not even gonna quote unquote speculate that he's gonna have a chance of winning this. That man's going to the NFL. Go ahead and make it happen, big guy. Do it big there. Make Oklahoma and Sooner Nation proud and make us look good on the defense side of the ball. It's been a while since we've had a lot of defensive players in the NFL that we can look at those stats and say that, hey, those are our guys. We're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to that, where we're going to have it. It's going to be a lot of defensive dudes and a few offense. Maybe Jaden Ike can carry the load for us in the running back room.
God. Man, I hope one day. Why'd you have to bring that into this? I hope one day we get like a tell-all about what happened there. Because
we won't. We won't. We won't. I know
the coaching staff won't throw him under the bus. He's gonna, he's probably not
coy. He's gonna play coy
up
the whole time and talking about it. I mean,
fine.
yeah.
Anyway, but on Owen, dude, the kid's draftable. He's going to be a top 4-round pick, I think, because of his explosiveness, his athleticism, the way he plays the game at linebacker.
True.
He's going to be a weak side linebacker for somebody at the NFL level, somebody who's going to star on special teams. And I mean, you can carve out a long NFL career by just being a good special teams player and somebody that can rotate in key areas. So like at minimum for him, he's got a long NFL career simply because he can be somebody's 3rd, 4th linebacker on the depth chart at minimum. He could certainly start for a lot of clubs and be a very impactful linebacker, but he's going to have a long NFL career. I just see that for him because he's a good kid, does things the right way, plays the game the right way. He's athletic, he's fast, he's physical. So he's going to have a good NFL career.
Yeah, I think he will too. I think he's one that's built to last. Yeah. I think he's one built to last. But sucks that we won't have him next season. Like I said, would love to. It'll be good to have, like I said, him and Kip and then Cole and like Nesta rotating. That would have been awesome to really get everybody warmed up. And then Cole, Sullivan, and Nesta takes over as your main guys with, Marcus James. But now it looks like we'll probably see more Marcus James. I just need Marcus James to go out there and make me look good again.
Yeah. And listen, you brought in a ton of linebackers in this 2026 recruiting class as well. And so like the competitive depth is there to push Nesta, to push Marcus James and Cole Sullivan. Like those guys are going to get pushed by a group that is competitive, is hungry, and they want to work, man. And I'm excited to see this new look linebacker room. You still got Kip Lewis, but beyond Kip Lewis, man, it's a lot of new faces that we're going to get to experience throughout the offseason, spring ball workouts, through fall camp. And those are going to be a lot of names to watch because we saw how impactful linebacker was for Oklahoma. I mean, they're oftentimes that 5th, 6th rusher for the Sooners when they're sending blitzers, and Kip Lewis and Owen Heinecke, they were awesome on the blitz. So now you got to find guys that can replicate that along with Kip Lewis in that starting lineup and rotational roles. So it's going to be a position to watch for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be fun. I'm ready to dig into these positions and see our early look in the winter. We'll talk about that, probably start a good series next week and really get into it. But yeah, season needs to hurry up. Actually, I'm just ready for spring so I can start really hearing some more, things leak out. And then I'm ready for fall camp. Let's get them fall camp videos going, baby. That's what I want.
Well, soon we're going to start hearing buzz about like who's standing out in workouts. You know what I mean? Like who the guys are that are impressing, who are putting on muscle and weight and increasing their lifts and things like that. So we'll start hearing that soon. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer Sooner.